Thank you for staying with us here on The Pulse. Let's start with the 24-hour economy. Now, President John Dramani Mahama has hailed the 24-hour economy policy as a revival of Dr. Nkrumah's visionary legacy, emphasizing industrial resuscitation as a key driver of Ghana's development agenda. Speaking at the official launch, President Mahama outlined his vision for a future where Ghanaian-made products are exported globally to generate income. Despite potential implementation challenges, he expressed strong optimism about policy success and its transformative impact on the economy.
While the 24-hour plus program is national in scope, our flagship intervention is the Volta Economic Corridor, a transformational effort to unlock the economic and environmental potential of the Volta Lake and its surrounding lands. Ladies and gentlemen, our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, envisioned the Volta project at Akosombo not only as a source of power to power Ghana's industrial sector. He also saw it as an integrated project that will provide agribusiness, it will provide lands for agriculture, irrigation. Unfortunately, that aspect of his vision have been lost. Today, we're recreating Kwame Nkrumah's dream. Today, Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's dream comes alive again. We will irrigate over 2 million hectares of land for intensive agriculture under Grow 24. We will establish agro-industrial parks for textiles, pharmaceuticals, and food processing under Make 24. We will develop tourism clusters along the lake under Show 24. We will turn the lake into a central transport corridor that connects the north to the south and the east to the west under Connect 24. And so, ladies and gentlemen, imagine a future where fresh fruits and vegetables from Tamale are air freighted daily to Europe and other destinations. Imagine aquaculture along the lake, the Volta Lake, that sustains jobs and provides nutrition, and ports on the Volta Lake that reduce our transportation costs by up to 80%. This is how we unlock the full value of inland Ghana and reconnect with our Sahelian neighbors.
Now, President Mahama also unveiled a series of sub-programs aimed at transforming Ghana's economic structure and reducing over-dependence on exports. We'll get the details of the sub-program soon, but first, my colleague Stephen Mensah has been speaking to some Ghanaians to gauge their thoughts on the policy's feasibility and potential challenges.
So many people need employment, so many people need the chance to do, and it brings also competitiveness, because in the public sector per se, where you close and you go, if they compare what you had been able to do within your 8 to 5 p.m. hours and what the night guy too had been able to do, meaning the same desk, you would have different shifts and it will be competitive, you know. They compare your output, your efficiencies, and maybe that could help some of the laziness out. It could push some of the laziness out.
Well, it's good news to us students because, you know, if it helps us get employed and get good jobs, then it's going to be very, very, very good initiative for us. Do you understand? So it's a welcomed stuff, actually.
It's a good policy. It will help those who. There are some people who can't work daytime. They would like to work at night, you know, and then at the daytime relax. So at night there's also a job for them, which also boosts the economy.
Yeah, I sell shoes, phones, and then I do Momo as well. Oh, it's a good idea because when you work the whole day, I've been paying a little. So within 24 hours, you know that maybe when I go to job, I can get this. You can go and then you close early, then you continue with your work that you do. Well.
Before any policy introduction, there must be a thorough stakeholder consultation. You understand? But in this sense, there hasn't been any thorough consultation. So the stakeholders and other things coming together to bring their policy and other things so that it will benefit from it. I don't think it is going to be feasible because of lack of that.
Still on the 24-hour economy, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, Emmanuel Cherry, says for the 24-hour economy to be fully effective, the government must ensure there is a strategic consultation of stakeholders. He believes the policy should be followed out in phases.
The thing that we need to look at is we travel a lot and then we see other economies. We see how they grew. The time is come. We are lagging behind. There's so much opportunities in there. So therefore, if there is an opportunity for us to have access to energy, access to good roads, access to what we call other utilities infrastructure, why not? The private sector will take advantage. Not the country entirely, but we can start piloting from some of the major cities and then spread across. And I believe we're good to go. If that happens, I'm telling you, a lot of things, the prices and what have you, will come down a little bit. And this, what do you call it, price hikes and what have you, will be a thing of the past. We are private sector players. We have to partner government to chart that particular course.
Well, it's a good time to do a breakdown of the 8 thematic areas captured in the 24-hour economy policy. And my colleague Isaac Kofi Ajay joins me in studio with more on that. Kofi, it's good to always have you in there. You make it very easy and simple.
Good to be here too, Emefa.
What do you have?
Well, so the 24-hour economy, as we know, is not going to be just shift system. According to the president, it's going to run on 8 pillars. So there will be 8 pillars of the 24-hour economy. And I mean, when it all began, we all saw that it's going to be a shift system where somebody works, and it's part of the system. But it's not just that. It's a structural, program that is expected to solve some of the problems of our economy. And we understand even the nomenclature has actually changed from what we saw in the 2024, manifesto of the NDC. The program is now called the 24-hour economy and accelerated export development, program. And so it tells you how important the export aspect is, where we have to produce to export to gain forex to support the city. Now, I want to take you through the 8 pillars under the 24-hour economy. And we have, for the first one, Grow 24. Now, this Grow 24 is going to focus on the agri sector, and according to the president, this is expected to really focus on irrigation and then also to make Ghana one of the food baskets, especially looking at the Volta Basin, where if you look at the map of the country right now, we used to have food baskets used to be the western and middle belt of the country. But now because of Galamsey and other activities, we all know what is going on. Today, there's been inflation released, and we've all seen that 11 regions have higher inflation than the national average, including, the Ashanti region and even upper east and upper west regions, where inflation is now above about 32%. Now, the president sees the Volta Basin being very free, illegal mining free, Galamsey free basin. It also has the Volta Lake and the Volta River for easy transportation. And this is why the Volta Basin has been chosen, not just rural areas, but there will be the other part, which is called the Shipon. That will be the urban smart farming, all expected to boost agriculture and break down inflation. But it's important to also put across that even the logo of the 24-hour economy has undergone some changes. So you can see the new logo that was launched by the president today when he actually kickstart the program. Now we have the Make 24, which is going to focus on manufacturing. Very important. This is the reason why he spoke about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's, ideas and vision. He says that Make 24 is going to position Ghana as West Africa's factory, right? And if you're going to do that, then they are going to focus on 50 new industrial parks nationwide, which is expected to drive the Make 24, aspect of the 24-hour economy, which will focus on infrastructure. Now, which will focus on, manufacturing. Infrastructure side will be called Build 24, focusing on infrastructure. Now, this is very important, where it tackles the energy sector, road transport, industrial zones, all will be put together for the Build 24, aspect of the 24-hour economy. 8 pillars.
If you look at the fifth one, it says Show 24, creative economy and tourism. Now you know that if you take away gold, cocoa, and possibly oil, our creative sector or the tourism sector earns about $3 billion every year. That is what the tourism sector brings in almost every year. And their projection that this year we could reach some $4 billion, and it could actually contribute more than 5% to the country's GDP. And this is why the Show 24 to President Mahama is very important. You also have the Connect 24, logistics and market access, very important. And the reason why you're seeing the Volta Lake and the Volta River being chosen is that if you look at the current road connection we have in the country, it's so costly to put up roads. If you want to put out just 1 kilometer of asphalted road, you know how much it will cost you. But on the Volta Road, you don't need any asphalt. All you need is the systems and logistics for transportation. And the president said this is going to be the key access point for value chain and also to connect various parts of the countries. And also for post-harvest losses, we are going to focus on that and possibly use the Volta River and the lake as the main, connecting point. That's what the Connect 24 is expected to do. You have the Fund 24, financing, very important. And it will be interesting to know that if you decide to register or possibly qualify for the 24-hour economy, and you possibly are running a 3-shift system, the system says that you are supposed to enjoy some 50% cut in terms of your corporate income tax. But for me, that's very important. If you operate on a 2-shift, 25% cut in your corporate income tax. We all know how much corporate income tax costs. But another leg to this part of the financing is that already this year, government is hoping to raise some 190 billion Ghana cedis from tax revenue. It's supposed to contribute about 84% to the entire revenue and grants that we expected to get this year. What if we need to really look at the systems we put in place so that companies will not say they operate three shift system, meanwhile they just operate one and they are enjoying corporate income tax cuts, and that possibly could affect revenue of the government. There is also the Goal 24, very important. This aspect talks about government itself and its agencies, where based on the capacity of some of these MMDAs, you can possibly decide to run a 24. It's not compulsory. It's not like government is going to push all MMDAs and agencies to run 24. It's based on capacity. Are you able to run 24? And is it necessary to run 24-hour? Very important there. There is also this aspect that for us is very important. If you are running a 24-hour economy, what will really push that 24-hour economy will be the hinge on which the 24-hour economy will run is the energy sector. And MFA, we've spoken about this a number of times.
Absolutely.
Already, the finance minister said 2024 we had to pay $1.46 billion as subsidies to the power sector. And if we continue to do business as usual, we could be paying $2.23 billion in energy sector shortfalls. It's because of this, that's why the government has introduced and is hoping to implement on the 16th of July, the 1 cedi additional levy on the export price of fuel, and then also PRC deciding to take 27% of the fuel cost, factoring that into the tariff adjustment, factors. Many have said that, look, government sounds really prepared because one, it made sure that the cedi was stable. It made sure that Bank of Ghana was getting inflows through the gold for oil deal, remittance tightening, government itself not spending so much. Because of that, inflation is down. And because of the windfalls we are enjoying at the pumps, we've seen transport fares coming down. We've seen inflation for last month, 13.7%, mainly driven by transport. And for the first time in a long time, we are seeing transport sector actually recording a deflation of 8.5%. Many have said that based on these factors, it looks like government sounds prepared. It has actually put in place all the major factors, make sure that all the major economic indicators are actually on a good trajectory before running the 24-hour economy. Because, mind you, if you have your cedi depreciating, your energy sector will find itself in big trouble. You will not be able to spend or to buy fuel to power the thermal plant, because currently about 70% of the country's energy mix comes from thermal. And these are the independent power producers that ECG pays close to about $50 million in terms of the IPPs and fuel supply. Now, if government has a dedicated fund or funding source to actually buy fuel to keep the light on, that will mean that we possibly will have a reliable power system to actually support the 24-hour economy. But don't forget that the IMF and the World Bank have projected that the energy sector shortfalls, if you look at between 2023 and 2026, could hit some $8.94 billion, That is the cumulative figure we see there. And government's already showing signs of saying that, look, we need the light on, but we need to do what we call burden sharing. So we will pay part of the subsidy, but the part must be paid through the export price of fuel, the levy that they are going to start the implementation on the 16th of July. PRC also has to pay. So they are also taking that 27% and pushing it on consumers. That's why you saw the tariff going up by 2.45%. And cumulatively this year, tariff has actually gone up by some 17%. All of this with the hopes that the energy sector problems will be solved, because government and the president himself is aware that without a reliable power supply, without a reliable energy sector, there can't be a 24-hour economy. So the good news is that it's been expanded. It's now 24-hour economy and accelerated export development plan. And then also, if you're a business person and you're watching an SME, the government says that the 24-hour economy is for you. If you decide to go on a 3-shift system, you could enjoy 50% cut in corporate income tax and a 24% tax cut when you're doing a 2-shift system. So, MFA, 8 pillars is what government is hoping that the 24-hour economy will run on. It's not just some people going, the shift system. It's bigger. It's actually a structural change to the country's economy. And the president is hoping that this could be that trump card that will change almost everything in terms of where they want to go, the big push all falling under the 24-hour economy. And then also the big reset that the government wants to do all will start when we see the 24-hour economy actually starting in full and possibly businesses enjoying the windfalls that this system or this policy will come with.
Mr. J, thank you so much for bringing clarity to this. So 8 thematic areas, simple: grow, make, build, show, connect, fund, aspire, and go. We get to understand all of this, but joining me in studio from the 24-Hour Economy Secretariat is the Head of Innovative Finance, Partnership and Markets, Dr. Ishmael Ni Amanadodu. And also in studio is Deputy Ranking Member, Economy and Development Committee, Foucault Kodwa Chedebois. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today on The Pulse. I'll start with you. Which one would you like, Mr. Foucault, Mr. Chedebois? Which one is easy for you?
The surname is Foucault.
Okay, so Mr. Foucault then. Okay, thank you for joining us. Let's start with you, because I'm certain that you have studied this document, the policy, very much, especially in Parliament. You have deliberated and all of that. For you as a committee, what do you make of it, the policy in its entirety, before we tear it apart?
Okay, thank you, MFI. Firstly, I had to clarify that we, as a committee or Parliament generally, we haven't formally received any policy document now. So I can't, respond positively to that.
Okay.
Any document. But, we've heard about 24-hour economy right from the campaign period of the current president and all that. So we have ideas about what it's about, but we haven't received formally a document on it as of now.
Okay.
Probably it will be following the launch.
Okay. Well, that's a good clarity. But on the outlook, what you have heard, what you have seen, and these thematic areas that Kofi, my colleague, just had the breakdown with for us, your assessment of it generally.
Yeah. Thank you, MFA. So the model of working in 24-hour shift, or 24-hour economy, I would say it's not new. It's not anything novel. It's been around for years, and in fact, it started way back during the Industrial Revolution. That is when it started, because there were demands for certain products, certain services, and they had to keep machinery working 24 hours, and that is where it started. I mean, those times there were no labor laws as we have it now. People were working, throughout the day. They were not even having shift systems. So the health of people suffered and so on and so forth. And then we've moved on very well, gotten to a point where a lot of these are even automated. So you have automated systems helping us to achieve this 24-hour shift today. Some have even moved further, such a way that they are improving upon the rest periods and so on and so forth, because we've come to the realization that human health is so important. So, a lot have been done, and we've come far from the Industrial Revolution period. The questions that you ask, one of the first questions that you ask is, really, is there a relationship between producing around the clock and productivity or economic growth? Is there a relationship between the two? Yeah, you may say yes, there might be a relationship. Maybe that is why it's been sustained all this while, from the 18th century to now. Maybe there is a relationship. But then you ask yourself again that indeed, if there is a relationship between producing around the clock, i.e. producing more, leading to economic growth. And mind you, when we say leading to economic growth, it means the entities, the businesses within the economy themselves would also do better if they employ this 24-hour work system. So you ask yourself, why haven't businesses on their own really gone into working around the clock? Why do we have to launch a program to have it coming into being? Why haven't they gone into it? Because businesses are rational. Okay, businesses are rational. And they where there's an opportunity, they go in for the kill. They want to make profits. So if it was about producing more, working around the clock to make profit, which in turn will push the economy, then why haven't they gone in? That is a big question. So then it tells you that yes, there might be a relationship, or there's a relationship between producing more and leading to profitability of businesses, leading to economic growth. But businesses in Ghana haven't gone in. And that is a big question for businesses that are rational on their own. So what then tells you is that there must be some moderating factors which are not in place. If those factors were in place, I'm sure businesses will go in to make profits, and this will impact on the economy correspondingly.
Okay.
So ask yourself, what are some of these moderating factors that should be in place for such a relationship to really work, for a 24-hour shift to work? Firstly, if you're a rational business, would you just go into producing because you want to produce more, because you want to produce around the clock, because you want to offer more services? So daytime, nighttime, you are producing, you are offering services. I'm sure you would do this because there is a need. There's demand for the products that you are producing or for the services that you are offering. This is what started this whole 24-hour shift. Like I said, from the 18th century, it was based on demand, products that were demanded. So there were orders waiting, and you had to add extra hours to be able to produce to meet the needs. So if businesses haven't gone in, and we had to come in to launch, then probably the demand is not there. That is number one, moderating factor. Now you look at producing around the clock, 24 hours. It means, and I love what the presentation that was done, it means you would need a lot of energy commitment, because now you are going to have more, like, if you want to put it like nightlife, similar to what happens during the day. And even during the day, we struggle with energy, electrical energy. we don't have the capacity now. So during the day, we are not able to even support industry. Now we are adding night time. So as a moderating factor, energy is key. So it is not the day that you are launching it, that you are telling us how you intend boosting our energy capacity. It should be there.
Okay.
When you are launching it, should be a tick.
Okay.
Now, other moderating factors, because I've said that the opportunity we assume is there. Businesses haven't gone in, so there are limiting factors, and these moderating factors are key. Transportation. Let's ask ourselves, if people are going to work during the night shifts, it means somebody wakes up, maybe whatever period is going to work during hours that are quiet, that you need dedicated transportation to be available for people to go to, to work. Do we have this available? If you started, now we've launched. So let's say we are starting. Businesses, I said earlier on, are rational. So do you think our church owners or the drivers or whatever will put these vehicles out because we've launched this program, so they are coming to work? No. If the business, if it's booming, if there's a lot of passengers that they will have the opportunity to carry from point A to B and so on and so forth, they'll go in. But if not, and it's really thin, they would not, because they will make a loss if they work it out. So have we made any arrangement for people that would want to even take advantage and go in to work around the clock, especially during the night?
Okay.
If it's not in place, how do people go to,
because I want Dr. Amano-Dodo to at least respond, and I can see that there may be more moderating factors. Maybe we'll start with 3 that you have just outlined, and so would continue. And so, Dr. Amano-Dodo, so apart from him, you may have heard economists, people say that really, where is the demand, and what exactly are we supplying? Together with these moderating factors that he has just mentioned, how do you respond to these concerns, first of all, before we even go into the thematic areas?
Thank you very much, MFR, and thank you, Honourable Member of Parliament. It's a delight to be here. First of all, I just want to thank media and thank all Ghanaians, and also thank His Excellency the President for this vision, and also to give us the opportunity that we can serve the country in this momentous occasion at the epochal moment of our country, to come out with such a blueprint for economic transformation agenda. I want to respond directly to some of the points that my brother raised, and these points are very pertinent questions. But before I respond, I want to preface it with this point, that before we came out with the 24-hour economy program, we have spoken to more than 350 to 400 different categories of people: producers, aggregators, processors, people in industry, trade union, all types of people. We also went to Parliament and actually presented to them, in which part of the Parliament side did not turn up. We, 2 days ago, presented this formally to the Speaker of Parliament, and there were subcommittees that are related to the 24-hour economy through the wisdom of Parliament that the Speaker actually called them into it. So we presented it formally, and this. So though we have not had a parliamentary debate on it, which the Speaker said he's going to bring to the floor, I was hoping that most members of Parliament would have been socialized with this. Also,
MFA, could I clarify a point on that? Just, I'm not interjecting.
Right.
Because, I'm a deputy ranking for the Economy and Development Subcommittee. Right. So if such a document had been tendered to Parliament.
To the Speaker of Parliament?
Yeah, to the Speaker. It goes to the Speaker. He's like the headmaster. he would have to now relay it to...
Yeah, so I'm saying that...
But so I haven't...
I'm actually reinforcing...
So for their side... So for their side, they may have done what they have to do, because then they give it to the speaker, right? They won't give it to the individuals.
A process.
Okay.
I think let's spend a lot of our time
confirming that
really not on administrative.
On the committee that I said, which will be the key one to receive such a document. We haven't received.
Yeah. That's
just to clarify.
That's fine. So I think I'm reinforcing your.
That's fine.
That. We were hoping that members of parliament will socialize themselves. But also, if you are a constituent of parliament, you represent the constituency, this is a game in town, you would actually make the effort to read, to try to understand it, because you have to also be able to engage your constituent. That's just my personal opinion. And some members of parliament have actually done that. Some have asked, you send a document to them. Some have asked further questions because they want to engage their constituents for the purposes of making sure that whatever is coming, their constituent could also benefit from it.
Okay.
So I think it's a very fair point. But let's talk about the point
he made.
He made demand.
Yes.
And these are rational points because we're hoping that Ghanaians are also very rational. Now, when you have a country where we import $350 million a year of offals and gallbladders and intestines of animals, all right? And this will translate to about $3.5 billion of import value that you only eat in your chop bars. And you tell me that there's no demand for that production? That's not right. Your food bill, $2.4 billion a year. That's food bill. So if you are then to substitute the food import bill of 2.5 billion, which is the market that you have, and you were to substitute it with your local production, then of course the market and the demand is there. The reason most of these production have not happened is because we have an economy that is so structured that we always have to import what we need from the economy. It's a deformed economy. It is not the fault of any government. This is a deformed economy that truly we imported from the colonial times. And this structure of economy that I've just described is one that you have to always export raw materials and import finished goods to satisfy your demand for goods and services. So, and this economy, it pertains all over Africa. So what we are trying to do with the 24-hour economy is to really deconstruct and reconstruct a new type of economy, one that helps us to be self-reliant, one that helps us to manage ourselves against the vulnerabilities of external shocks, one that helps us to be reliant on our own production so that we'll be able to meet our food security needs and have surpluses that industry can take as raw materials, process, and also export.
Let's stay on this point a little bit. I have a little bit of deja vu. Why? Because when we're hearing one district, one factory, I nearly would hear terminologies like this, like we want self-sufficiency, we want to create employment, we want to decentralize employment. I mean, it nearly sounds like something that I have
But what
heard.
you didn't hear is an integrated value chain approach to all of this.
Okay.
What you didn't also hear is opening up a new economic corridor, which will open up the entire economic system. What is so different from 1D1F? And I'm not saying that 1D1F does not have a great ethos around it. I mean, we looked at it. We looked at the 24-hour economy document is a national thing. It is really something that reflects the aspirations of Ghanaians. So we've looked at what have worked well with 1D1F, what have not worked well, how do we improve it? We looked at all the things, presidential special initiatives that President Kufuor brought. We looked at all types of different Operation Feed Yourself, the Kwame Nkrumah economic policies and all that. We had a comprehensive look to say, okay, how do we construct a new economic system that works for us? Now, the difference between 1D1F is that we're looking at the whole structure of the economy and looking at the integrated value chain across sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, textiles, pharmaceuticals, and then the creative arts. And central to this is how you transform your production, not just with technology, but you transform it in ways that it conforms to standards that enable industry to change their behavior so that they can be able to export and meet. To export, you have to meet international standards.
For example, GROW, it says that it seeks to re-engineer food and feed systems by revitalizing critical strategic agricultural value chain with the objective of ensuring input self-reliance, food security. And I'm going to just fast forward and say, Eden Volta, which positions the Volta Basin as a future breadbasket of West Africa. So I see that you say that the 24-hour economy is a national approach. But I see that Eden Volta, that's a Volta region. It means that you're still doing from a bottom-up approach, is it not?
No, this is an entry point. It's a flagship. So everything is good. So we are going to establish agroecological parks all across the country. The Eden Volta approach is the entry point to open up the rest.
I asked this question because
you must understand that when you have any strategy, you must have an entry point where you start with, you sequence through it.
Could we not have used the one district, one factory as still a conduit?
Well,
why did we have to discontinue?
Well, the difference here is that before you actually meet these production needs, one, it must be a scientific exercise, which we've done, to be able to determine how much maize we need for ourselves and for industry within the current industry capacity to manufacture and export, how much soybean we need. We worked all through all the value chain analysis, and these analysis exist. Some of them, they are ones that we're just operationalizing. The other thing is also, in order to be able to transform your production, you need to organize the production. All right? So the agroecological parks is so chosen as the basis for organizing the production in order to be able to address things like R&D in production, technology in production, using GIS, remote sensing, precision agriculture, using smart agriculture, making sure that your production conforms to environmental social governance norms, conforms to certification standards, conforms to ISO standards. You don't just, and then you also have to make sure that you have the right seed that will generate the kind of output you are looking for. So seed selection. So and then you have to, the difference is with one-to-one is you have to strategically invest in your connectivity to markets. Making sure that you address some of these post-harvest losses.
We'll talk about investment shortly, but still back on the
this is all part of, I'm telling you the difference between 1D1F, and I'm saying that it is not that 1D1F is in itself is not an important or a good initiative. We have looked at what worked, what didn't work. And so what we are bringing today with the 24-hour economy, it's one that is based on lessons learned from all of these initiatives and so packaged in such a way that we'll be able to turn the country around through an economy that we are developing.
Let's address the big elephant in the room, energy sector.
Yes.
Which is not just the concern of Mr. Foko here. Yes. Of course, the whole country. Everybody is asking. Of course, you need energy sector, part of the infrastructure to run this.
You do.
What's the answer to this?
All right. So energy is arguably one of the important factors to this. We are trying to bring in investors to invest in agroecological parks and to invest in our industrial parks through SPVs that we are creating. We are looking at all types of financing to be able to do this. Mind you, investors will not, like you say, using the rationality of economics. Investors will not come into something where they cannot see. They cannot predict the income. They cannot predict some of the infrastructures that you have around investment. So energy is important. We know that 4.3 megawatts of so, million megawatts is what is needed, is what we have. We need about a million more. Now, this is how we are addressing the energy needs. We are looking at embedded solutions within agroecological parks and industrial parks. And embedded solutions will be energy development, waste to energy, biogas, solar energy. And these are all going to be capex investments that that investors who are really interested in, whether in industrial parks that's producing garments and textiles or agroecological by looking at agro processing are all going to bring on board. So we are talking to a wide range of energy related investors who are coming on board as strategic partners to provide this type of energy. So the energy is not one that is using the base load of what we have already. We are going to produce new energy.
Okay.
And we're using this means to unleash the potential of new types of renewable energy that the country can have. Listen, we are at a point where there's a sheer volume of investment destination that people are looking for. Africa has 1.3 trillion market economy in West Africa alone. Not to talk about the entire Africa through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. You have the age on your side, 18 to 25-year-old, for more than 70% of our population. You need to be able to invest in these human resources to transform an economy, and the money is coming.
It'll be a good, well, that's a very, very interesting way to land. The money is coming. Well, so Mr. Foko, how do you respond to this? Does it sound feasible, viable to you at all?
Yeah. Thank you, MFA. And you know, Dr. Dodu, I mean, you've made a number of points. I picked some. The first point you made was that, okay, I spoke about demand. You know, I mean, if there was effective demand. And he said, yeah, we import a lot. We import a lot of rice. We import a lot of poultry and so on and so forth. So it means we can produce to replace these imports. It's plausible. It makes sense a lot.
It's practical.
That's what I'm saying. It's plausible. So it makes sense a lot. But are you telling Ghana that as we speak now, we can't meet our rice demands, we can't meet our poultry demands because we've exhausted the daytime capacity and we have to now grow rice during the night?
No.
Is that what we... No, I'm coming. Because you're saying... I'm coming. You're saying there's 24... let me... I didn't talk at all. When you...
Okay, let's allow him to make the point.
What you're saying is... you asked about the question of demand, and you said, yes, we import a lot. We import poultry, we import rice. So this is going to boost our capacity. So we replace these imports, okay? So what it means, as of now, what is being touted is that we're going to do 24-hour shifts. And we're already doing daytime working, so it's about the nights. So what it means is that, yeah, when we grow rice in the night, we'll have enough rice, we'll not import.
Is that what it means? Is that what it means?
By implication.
No, Mr. Foko, that is not by implication.
So if we
well, he's more, here. Let's have him clarify.
Because it's not intellectually sound.
No, it is not.
To say that by implication that you're asking
because you said if we go by the 24-hour economy, we're going to replace what we import. And he gave example.
We talk about markets.
Yeah, markets.
So let's hang on to the market. If you import $2.5 billion worth of food, including $350 million of gallbladders,
it means that in Ghana you don't have that capacity. Is that what it means?
The market is there.
In your findings, is that what it means?
Let me establish my point.
Let him establish.
Okay.
So you talk about gallbladder, whatever. It's protein. So protein that we import. So now we are not running a 24-hour economy. So by implication and by extension, if we run a 24-hour economy, we can produce more rice. We can produce more. Otherwise, how do we replace the imports?
Okay, so please let me come
because MFR, you asked about the difference between 24-hour shift or 24-hour economy and 1D, 1F. Because if it is about producing more to replace imports or to export more, increasing productivity in areas where naturally we have the capacity, then it's the same as 1D, 1F. So if it is about economic transformation, the NDC's manifesto and all that we have heard, there are other programs for economic transformation. So now it's the 24-hour economy replacing everything and becoming the giant that now, is it about economic transformation, but now we are downplaying on the 24-hour economy? No, because 24-hour economy means you are producing around the clock, 24 hours. That is what it means. Otherwise, then what you are doing is not different from the blueprint of changing our economy, which is what the 1D1F, sought to do.
Okay.
Well, because look,
I think the point. I think your point. You've made the point.
You had HS to roll out.
I'm coming.
You want to land on the point for me?
I want to
please land on the. Okay, end on the point for me.
So if it's about that, producing more to transform the economy, it's about value addition. Now we process about 50% of the cocoa that we produce. We produce about 40,000 metric tons of cashew. How much do we process? Just about 5% or so. So if it's about increasing the processing capacity, getting a lot of the value chains done here, creating jobs along the value chain and all those, then that is exactly what.
So do I hear you say that, Mr. Before I come to you, do I hear you say that everything they're saying they would do in the 24-hour economy policy could really have been achieved without having to introduce the 24-hour? Is that what you're saying? Is that what I hear you saying?
Phase 2 of
okay,
1D1F.
Fine. He's here. You're here.
That works.
Do you get the crux of what he is trying to bring our attention to?
I struggle to really understand his philosophy and the essence of what he's trying to say. I've been trying to really understand it. Because to start first to say, well, if you stop producing in the night, you decide to grow in the night, then you're actually increasing productivity of rice. Then it begs the
I like to think it's just an example for us to.
It begs intellectual understanding of the whole essence of productivity on land. You cannot. That is not. So I want to really clarify that.
Okay.
This is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that if people sleep and you wake up at night and you start growing, then you're actually improving.
What are we saying?
What I'm saying. What the 24-hour economy vision is about creating an economy that is catalyzing industrialization, export, and creating jobs. And an economy that works for everyone, every hour of the time. And it looks at the productive sectors of the economy. All right, so we are talking about inclusive economy and looking at the key productive sectors, and not just in agriculture. West Africa spent out $20.7 billion of medicinal imports. Ghana spends quite a chunk of it. Some of the medicines we have the pharmaceutical sector that can produce them. They can reduce the cost and they can make it accessible for us, the vaccines and all sort of things. Now, so it is about looking at the entire spectrum of our productive economy: agriculture, pharmaceuticals, garments, textiles, creative arts, and putting at the center of it the capacity of Ghanaians to be able to function in this modern economy with mindset change. That's the Aspire 24, which we didn't talk about. Mindset change, with capacity, with getting technology and skills to be able to drive this economy. So it's very whole. It's looking at the whole system.
Doug, let's talk about funding.
Yeah. So hold on. So we need to really clarify that.
I think people hear what they want to hear. They hear him, they hear you as well.
Yeah, but it's extremely important that we need to know.
That clarity has been made. Let's talk about funding.
Yes.
It's your 400 billion for the 4 billion for the 5 years, and then you're making available $300 million as seed funding. I can quite hear some economists say that looking at how much you need, that seed fund is woefully inadequate. Confirm to me if that is true or that is not true. If it's inadequate, sustainability of the funding, how do you intend to really practicable way of funding this policy and the sustainability of it?
So first of all, it will be useful for us to understand the funding architecture. The seed funding component is really a viability funding, and what it shows government's commitment to this whole 24-hour economy. Now, you understand that the 24-hour economy is going to be driven by private sector. Capital is in private sector. Technology is in private sector. Private sector sees opportunities. As he said, they are rational. They latch onto it. All right? They see you have a GDP of 80 billion per year. 80% of it is by import. and you want to replace that import with manufacturing here, not just to feed your GDP, but to feed the GDP of other West African countries, which is over close to $1 trillion of market economy. It's an interesting way for private sector to really begin to enter here. Now, what private sector will need is predictability, that the bureaucracy is actually addressed, and these are things that we need to work on, the energy predictability and sustainability and all of that. So those are the things that we government need to invest in. So there are two types of funding we're looking at. We're looking at the infrastructure financing. Our strategic partner in this is Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund. And then we're looking at SME enterprise financing, which is the Development Bank of Ghana, is our strategic partner. Now, if you allow me, with 5 minutes, I'll explain this funding architecture. So,
in 2 minutes.
All right. It's important.
Apologies. We'll keep chewing on this subsequently. So
okay.
yeah.
So for infrastructure financing, we have special purpose vehicles that have been created with concessions. And private sector would really get into this purpose vehicle through debt financing, through blend financing, through all types of innovative financing. Now, enterprise financing, what we are doing is we're getting a concessional rate of financing.
What does that mean?
That it is not the market, it's not the rate you see on the market.
Okay.
It's below 10%, with a moratorium to provide a patient capital for the SMEs to be able to develop their equity and become prosperous and be able to then pay back. But the reason we are different in terms of the way which we learn from is to, if you organize production along ecological zone and use cooperatives and associations and so on, you'll be able to de-risk the investment. So there is an insurance to de-risk the investment, and at the same time to ensure that this investment is coming at a rate that the SMEs can actually make profit of and to pay back. And private sector are coming. We have a lot of international finance institutions that we are working with. We have strategic relations with all of them, both here in Africa, operating in Africa, in the Gulf states, and different other places.
What are the genuine challenges you anticipate? And I ask this because when the president was speaking during the launch, he says that despite the challenges, yes, I like to think that you have sat down and anticipated the challenges. What are the genuine challenges?
Well, one of the major challenges we have is the attitude of Ghanaians, the mindset. We need to really change our mindset. We need to be very entrepreneurial. We also need to know that this is actually not, if you go and take a loan, for example, it is not an buying seeker. It's actually you as an entrepreneur, you get in this, you have patient capital, you have some kind of services that is supporting you to be able to structure your financial fiduciary system in order to be able to become profitable and pay back. And you have connectivity of your production, offtake, and someone is there paying you. So it's a whole attitude change and mindset change. And that, for me, is one of the biggest things that we face.
I think it will be a good time to have Mr. Foko take the last bite on this.
Mm. Okay, yeah, MFA, thank you. So the issue of financing. Okay, there are finance houses that are always ready to provide financing. In Ghana alone, we have about 23 or so commercial banks, and there are other financing institutions, okay? If you have a model that works, a model that is reasonably going to create the necessary cash flows for you, finance houses will beg you to give you money. They'll beg you. So if you're struggling to now raise some money to run a model, it tells you there's a problem. Okay, so that's where I started from.
So we are not struggling.
I actually didn't hear him say they are struggling.
No, you are not
I'm
struggling.
never struggling.
Okay, the money
are
there.
Offering finance to people at 35%.
I'm okay.
It doesn't make any big sense.
Doesn't make sense. The program has no struggles with money.
We just launched the program.
No, I understand. You are not struggling.
We have never said we are struggling.
It's a giving.
It's not a problem. So they haven't said they are struggling yet.
Let me finish my point.
No, we haven't said we are struggling.
If something is not an issue, then you don't even talk about it. If there was an unlimited amount of money, then we won't even debate it here. Whatever you are going to use, please, let me, whatever you are going to use.
Let's hear him.
Whatever you are going to use to run this program is not from somebody's pocket. This is money for the country. This is budget approved by, that has to be approved or approved by, approved by Parliament. If private people are going to come in, that is where I'm coming to.
Yes.
That a model that makes sense, private people on their own will jump on board. If they realize that there's demand for it, effective demand for this program, that they are going to produce more, i.e. producing around the clock, and there are off-takers, why not? Funding would not be a problem. So if we start talking about funding, if we realize that funding will be, one of the issues, then it tells you we have to ask ourselves the questions that I started with again. But it's telling me there's no funding problem. But I'm coming. Whatever that we are going to use from the government side, if it's not already approved in the March budget, it's going to come. And Parliament will scrutinize it.
Fantastic.
So whatever we're doing, it should make economic sense.
Correct.
He's talking about patient capital. Okay, think about it. You're looking for some money that will be there for years. Use it. Investors, again, I'm using the same word. Investors are rational. They don't just go throwing their monies. And in Ghana here, the commercial banks, people say, they lend for short term. Yes, they are commercial banks. If you're placing your money with them, how long do you place with them? You're placing with them for 91 days, 180 days, maximum some 1 year. And you want them to lend it to you for whatever years. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't make sense. So they can lend to you for a limited period, some 2 years, 3 years. They want it back. That is commercial banking. We don't have much of development banks here. The NPP started a development bank, which is there. It could be expanded, and development banks can give you the patient capital that you spoke about.
Development bank.
Right. Gentlemen, I think that
the point that I'm making, which I want to establish, is that if a model makes sense,
yes, you will invest in
money. You will invest in it. At you.
Okay, I think that's clear. In 30 seconds, you wanted to just say something.
He just said that the model makes sense.
So then,
he himself is going to invest in it.
All right,
thank you very much,
gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today on the poll. It will definitely not come. Thank you.
So
we were joined in studio by Deputy Ranking Member, Economy and Development Committee for Kodwa Chunibuan as well, Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Dodu. He is the head of Innovative Finance Partnership and Market at the 24-Hour Economy Secretary. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on the polls. Please